I am, as I said before, Reverend Dr. Jonathan Zenz. I am the senior minister here, and it's a community that is rooted in and celebrating love. That's what we are here to do, and so I am grateful that you have decided to spend your Sunday morning here with me and with all of us. It's a delight to have you here. Now, our purpose here at Unity of Tucson is to provide a safe, loving, and inclusive space where all people can explore the principles of the New Thought spiritual philosophy. And I believe that through the New Thought spiritual philosophy, we can find the opportunity to master spiritual understanding, to find personal purpose, and to develop a spiritual path. And what I have found in adopting these principles in my life is that it has enhanced the quality of my life. Now, one thing I say every single week, and I know that those of you who are here every single week are probably sick of hearing me say it, but it's always a good reminder. You may not believe everything I say today. Oh my gosh, but you're the minister. Yes, and I am a person who has a philosophy that I like to teach, and if you want to take that philosophy into your own heart, then that is your choice. But you are not required to believe what I believe. You are not required to think what I think, and I'm not here to tell you what to believe or what to think. That is entirely up to you. So if something butts up against your belief system here today, just be willing to look at it without judgment and allow yourself to make some determinations around whether or not that is working for you in your life. And if it is, awesome. I'm not here to change that. And if it's not, well, maybe there's something that can be unfolded in your life in a new direction that might enhance it. I don't know. It's up to you. Now, we do have a vision and a mission here at Unity of Tucson, and I would love for us as a community to first, let's state out loud these words of our vision statement. We envision a world awakened to its magnificence. And as I say each week, the vision is a manner in which we may choose to see the world. The mission are steps that we can put into practice to allow that vision to come into expression. And so let's say these words of our mission statement together. Love only, forgive everything, remember who you are. We all think that what we want is a lifetime of leisure. Each perfect day the same, endless vacation. Well, that's all right if you're a kind of crustacean, the song has said. I love that line. But when you're born with an imagination, sooner or later you're feeling the fire getting hotter and higher. The spark of creation, there is that within each and every one of us, that spark that is inviting us to light up the light and be that magnificent light in every aspect of our lives. So yes, this month, the theme is curiosity, and I love the notion and the idea of curiosity. And I think I have a lot to say about it, so strap in. Today's talk is called One Spark Can Light the Dark. One spark can light the dark, and I think I know where that one spark is. It's in you. Yeah, it is, but it is, because it's also in you, and in you, and in you, and in you. We collectively spark up and light the dark. So I want to define curiosity first. I oftentimes will start with a definition at the beginning of the month to define what the theme of the month's word is. Curiosity, a strong desire to know or learn. A strong desire to know or learn. I love living life from the point of view of curiosity. I love to know more. I love to study more. I love to invest in something beyond what I think I know. I like to think of that curiosity as the divine spirit or that spark of inquiry, an invitation to know something beyond the known. That's the spark of creation within each and every one of us. The spark of creation. When we have an idea, which can be the result of that divine spark of inquiry, that idea is made manifest. It is made in form. Starts with the mind and shows up in form. That is a fundamental principle to what we teach here in New Thought. And I'm going to say that again. When we have an idea, y'all have ideas? Yeah. Every single person here has ideas, right? Yeah. Where do you think those ideas come from? Oh, I didn't really think about that. We all have ideas, and when we have an idea, That can be the result of that divine spark of inquiry. And that idea comes into expression. It is made manifest. Always, no matter what. And some people are probably thinking, well, there are some ideas that I would probably not like to have made manifest in my life. Well, you are the spark of creation, and so if that idea shows up, you can also say, I choose not to allow that to come into expression. I can choose something else and allow a new divine idea to come into expression because I am nothing if not the conduit and the fulfillment of infinite divine ideas. That's the truth of each and every one of us. So I would like to invite a question for reflection. Just take a moment to reflect on this question. And I'm going to speak this in the first person. I invite you to hear it and ask yourself this question in the first person. So, where is Spirit inviting me to be a spark in my life and the world? Just consider that for a moment. Where is Spirit inviting me to be a spark in my life and the world? I don't have an answer. I mean, I do have an answer that came up for me, but I'm not going to tell you what that is. It's my personal answer. One spark, a single spark can light up one idea. A single spark can light up a courageous act. A single spark can light up a moment of curiosity and can change the trajectory of our entire lives. I hold firm in this state of faith that there is a divine urge in each and every one of us to constantly be stepping into a greater light. Are you taking advantage of that urge within you? Or are you sitting back like life is a vacation? And life can be kind of like a vacation because that spark can also guide us to magnificent destinations. In Matthew 5:14 through 16, this is part of the Sermon on the Mount, which is one of my favorite parts of Scripture. The Sermon on the Mount is one of my favorite parts of Scripture. And I'm just going to make a side comment right here. I think that more than posting the 10 Commandments in public spaces, we should be posting the Beatitudes in public spaces. Because for me, that is really the core of what this is all about, that we are here for love, forgiveness, to allow ourselves to always be demonstrating as that master teacher, Jesus. Jesus offered this in the Sermon on the Mount. He said, you are the light of the world. You ever heard that before? Probably. I say it a lot. This is one of my favorites. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under a bushel, but on the stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others. Are you letting your light shine? Or is there something that you may be putting in place that dims that light in some manner? Curiosity is the beginning of transformation. So today is really an invitation to abandon fear, to go beyond the status quo, and to deepen into new possibilities. Jesus' words are a call to courage and living life from the point of view of authenticity. And so, another question for consideration, what are the bushels I've put into place that dim my light? In what way do I choose to dim my light? And it's a choice. Whether it's an active choice or not, it is a choice. And I can always choose something else. So what are the bushels that I've put into place that dim that light? What is the root of fear for standing out and speaking up when it is required and necessary to spread more love in this world? I live sometimes within a construct of fear for standing out and speaking up. That may surprise you since I speak up every Sunday. It's easy to do from a platform where people are in conscious acknowledgement and agreement for the most part. But do I have a willingness to stand out and speak up outside these walls in a way that is promoting love and kindness all the time? I've joked sometimes that, we don't support proselytizing in the New Thought movement. It is not up to us to go out there and try to get people in the door. Never my intention. But I do joke sometimes that if I were to proselytize, this is the manner in which I would do it. I would take a really good New Thought book and I would go out on the street and I would say, "You are not a sinner." You, each and every one of you, is the full expression of a loving divine presence that knows itself so beautifully that it decided to show up as you. Can you imagine that as a street preacher? That is a divine spark, right? And that divine spark in each and every one of us is meant to shine brightly. And we don't have to go out there and actively do it. If we are shining our light, we are doing it whether we are aware of it or not. When we are living from the point of view of love, forgiveness, and remembering the truth of our being, we cannot help but have people attracted to that, because that is what many people are singing. Well, they might be singing it too, but they are seeking it. They are seeking love. That's, I think, primarily what brings so many people to this movement, because they're saying, you know what? You are grounded in, founded in, and the expression of love no matter what. And that's an important caveat. No matter what. There are no exceptions to the divine love, the unconditional divine love that is at the core of our being. There can be no conditions on that love. And the minute we place conditions on that love, what we have told ourselves is that we are limited expressions of the unlimited, and we are not limited. The divine spark is meant to shine. And so are you shining your divine spark today? And as I often say, and the rest of you? Yes. Yes. You know what I love about this divine spark too is that curiosity, the active curiosity that exists within each and every one of us, can help us to uncover that divine spark in the event that we aren't aware that it exists. There's a glorious author who was part of my, reading his work was part of my training, and they have sort of moved him to the side in a lot of the training now, and you don't really read this author so much, but he was a direct collaborator with Emma Curtis Hopkins, who is known as the teacher of teachers in the New Thought movement. This is a man named H.B. Jeffrey. H.B. Jeffrey wrote a book called The Principles of Healing, and it's a wonderful book, but it's out of print, and I think that might be why they're kind of put it out of the education line, because it's out of print, it's really hard to find, but if you're interested, I have sources. Just saying, I have sources. He wrote this in that book, though. He wrote, I'm 52 years old. Am I going through puberty again? We are the children of light. Okay. He wrote this. We are the children of light and not of darkness, and not of night, of the free spirit and not of flesh. We are the divine presence constantly and never absent from God, because God is ever present. That's the truth of our being. We are the children of light and not of darkness. Of day, I missed that, of day and not of night, of the free spirit and not of flesh. We are in the divine presence constantly and never, ever, ever, I'm adding that in, never, ever, ever, ever absent from God, because God is ever present. God is present right here, right now, infinitely showing up in form as this universe, and probably something beyond the known universe. But God is showing up as each and every one of you. Each and every one of you is that divine spark of creation showing up, for you are the impression of the love of divinity upon itself to show up. It decided to show up as you. How awesome is that? When we acknowledge this idea that we are, and there's nothing more you really need to say after that. We are. I am I am remembering who we are. Curiosity and the exploration of this thing called life can deepen that sense. Every question, every single question, every seeking moment is an invitation to a greater awareness of spiritual truth. So are you living life from the point of view of curiosity? Can you walk through life with a sense of wonder, with a sense of awe? Can you look out and just say, wow, wow, look at this amazing thing that we get to experience called life? One of my favorite, many of you will know, and I've talked about this before, one of my favorite images that has ever been created photographically by humanity is the image from the Voyager spacecraft when it was several billion miles away, and it basically turned its camera around and took a picture. And in that picture, it's basically a large, dark field, and there's this one little blue dot. It's called the pale blue dot. That blue dot is Earth. And everything that you have ever experienced, every heartbreak, every love, everything in your life, all of humanity, everything we think we know about humanity, all exists on and has been expressed on that one itty-bitty tiny little dot. And it's not meant to make us feel insignificant. What I like to say is it helps me feel significant because I get to be a part of this universal wholeness. That's exciting to me. That curiosity that invites me to know more, to be more, to sense more. That is a driving factor in my life that I am always, always grateful for. And so we can deepen the sense of our place when we understand the truth of our being. We are that which is. Every question, every seeking moment is an invitation to a greater awareness of spiritual truth. You are spiritual truth embodied and expressed. Curiosity is faith in action. It is the activity of faith. If I choose to believe in infinite potential, what is possible for me in my life? If I believe in infinite potential, what is possible for me in my life is the infinite. What greater truth am I invited into in considering that infinite potential? Our inner spark can lead to an outer impact. Our inner spark can lead to an outer impact. And that spark that oftentimes expresses itself through our prayer practice, which is a primary spiritual tool that we teach here in Unity, that prayer practice, I think all prayer should impel action in the world of form. If it does not impel action, then keep praying. That's first what I would say. Keep praying. But if it does not impel action, then it is not a prayer answered. And the action is the result of, or the action as a result of prayer is something that is in us to be done. Not a supplication to something outside of ourselves to have something done to us. It is a call to each and every one of us. Prayer is a call for each and every one of us to step into action in our lives. Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., reminded us of this action that is up to each and every one of us in one of my favorite quotes. And yes, this is, because I do recognize that this is Black History Month, and so there's going to be part of that in part of what I offer. He said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. You are the light, you are the love, embodied and expressed at all times. Nothing changes when we let darkness be met with darkness. Our call is to be the light, love only, no matter what." December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the bus in Montgomery. And I think sometimes we look at that and say, yes, perhaps this was an act of defiance against a system of injustice, and maybe we can rethink this a little bit. What might have been happening for her in that moment? What was rooted in a curiosity frame of mind for her? Perhaps the curiosity was asking the question, why? Why should I move? Why is this system in place? That spark of curiosity became a spark of creation that launched a movement. It launched a movement. That one spark lit the flame of the civil rights movement. That divine impulse for justice and equity was alive in her that day, and there was something in her that said, I choose to be the light in this moment. I think that spark is alive within each and every one of us. And each and every one of us has an opportunity to step into one action, one choice. We don't have to change the world because that can feel very daunting. But if we take one action, make one choice, we can illuminate the darkness of what we perceive to be injustice. It's up to each and every one of us to be that spark of creation. It is an invitation for each and every one of us. And I think that when we allow that spark to light up the world, we will find personal reward within that. And it is an invitation. And the invitation ultimately is an invitation into complete faith, to never deny that we are the light of the world, to never, ever deny that we are the light of the world. Are you willing to do that? That's a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer that out loud. But just take a moment to say, am I willing to shine that light? Am I willing to find myself rooted in and acting from this invitation of complete faith? And then throw yourself with abandon into that. Dr. Ernest Holmes offered this. He said, the person who can throw themselves with complete abandon into that limitless sea of receptivity, having cut loose from all apparent moorings, is the one who will always receive the highest and greatest reward. Are you willing to allow yourself to move forth and shine your light with abandon? I choose to be. I choose to be in every aspect of my life. Now, there seem to be many calls and opportunities to be that spark of creation, rooted in that spark of curiosity that we're experiencing these days. You get to decide your relationship to that atmosphere of this world that we're living in, but there are many calls to be the light. Are you willing to shine that light? One spark, one idea, one question, one act can change the trajectory of the whole world. And we've seen this repeatedly throughout history. And you know what? The cumulative effect of that, and some people may not realize this, the cumulative effect of that frame of mind is, whether you know it or not, we are living at the most peaceful time of humanity since humanity came into expression. It doesn't feel like that sometimes because we watch the news. And we see we are presented with all the things that don't feel so good. But that is such a minuscule, itty-bitty, teeny-weeny little percentage of the breadth of humanity and the experience of humanity on this planet at this time. We are in the most peaceful time in the history of humanity. And so let that be something that sparks something within you. It's not to say that we should not address the ills. Just don't get caught up in them in a way that it becomes a detriment to your own well-being, where it begins to be a bushel that hides your light. Your light is a requirement. That spark in you is a requirement. How will you let your spark shine? Where in your life is Spirit calling you to explore with curiosity? What are you willing to step into, even if the path is uncertain? A small action, a new question, a willingness to step forward can illuminate the way for yourself and for others. Are you keeping your light hidden under a bushel, or are you letting it shine? the lyrics of that song, I've got an itching on the tips of my fingers. I've got a burning in the back of my brain. I've got a hunger burning inside me, cannot be denied. I've got a feeling that the Father who made us, when he was kindling a pulse in my veins, he left a tiny spark of that fire smoldering inside. Now, I know a lot of you are probably going to say, now, wait a second, Jonathan, you always talk about, not to, talk about the Father out there and that we are separate from. Well, I just want to acknowledge the fact that Stephen Schwartz, who wrote that song, it is a song from a show called Children of Eden, and it is basically the story of Genesis. So there is language that we can metaphysically interpret. Old school metaphysical interpretation, and we have grown beyond this, but I will talk about old school metaphysical interpretation offered this. God as Father represents that ultimate source of all creation. It was considered a creative, generative power giving rise to all existence. So it doesn't matter the language we use. What is the meaning behind the language? Because that is the spark of creation within. It is you. It is you living as this creative, generative power. Consider today activating that innate hunger burning inside so strong. It's not just a desire to create, it's curiosity that impels action through prayer. It is that same spark the great change makers have all had that exists in each and every one of you, in each and every one of us. That spark wants to light the dark. So today, I invite you to let it. Peace and blessings. You are magnificent. I will acknowledge, as I tell you what the home practice is today, that I do repeat home practices sometimes. If you are new to our community, I offer a home practice each week, which is a call to each and every one of us to do something active in our lives to allow this principle that we've talked about intellectually here today to be expressed in the world. So the home practice is this. This is one of my favorite acronyms, SPARK. Spiritual practice in acts of random kindness. That's the spark in you. Express your divine light through small intentional acts of love and generosity all week. That's the home practice. Go out there and be a spark through random kindness.